Manx Radio's Update with Lewis Foster.
Fastamai, good evening. It's 5 o'clock and welcome along to Update for Friday the 1st of November. Let's start the weekend with a half-hour look at the latest news on and from the Isle of Man. Coming up, the Treasury Minister admits the 2% increase in the higher rate of income tax probably won't be removed in the next budget. An update from Braddan Commissioners on the Roundhouse access road, and FC Isle of Man prepare to face Abbey Hey. All that and more, plus business, weather and sport, and what to watch out for on the roads. Your thoughts always welcome too on any of tonight's stories. Text 166 177 or email studio@manxradio.com. First of all, Dave Moore has the headlines for us. Fastamai, Dave.
Fastamai. Manx residents feel the Isle of Man is safer than the UK, but some are concerned over the impact of alcohol and drugs on public safety. Those are some of the findings of a consultation into policing on the island. A new school could be built on a plot of land where one once stood. The site on Park Road, Douglas, has been empty since the former teaching facility was demolished over a decade ago. Education Minister Daphne Kane confirmed in the House of Keys this week it's her department's preferred location for a new two-form primary school. The chair of Braddan Commissioners, Andrew Jessup, says if their Ramsey counterparts pay into the Eastern Civic Community site, they could be allowed to use it. It follows the decision by Bride Commissioners to pull ratepayer funding out of the Balladool Civic Community site, leaving the future of the facility in doubt. Elsewhere, a judge has described a teenager's fatal knife attack on 15-year-old Holly Newton as vicious and brutal. 17-year-old Logan McPhail stabbed her more than 36 times in an alleyway in Northumberland last January. He was apparently unable to accept their 18-month relationship was over. The family of a woman who said she'd been sexually assaulted by Mohammed Al-Fayed say police knew of allegations 10 years earlier than they're saying. Samantha J. Ramsey's relatives say she was just 17 when the former Harrods boss attacked her at the Knightsbridge store in 1995. And warnings have been issued on the Balearic Islands in Spain because of developing storms. Large amounts of rain are expected just days after more than 200 people were killed in flash floods in the Valencia region this week. Those are the Update News headlines. The next bulletin is at 6.
Gromayed, thank you, Dave Moore. And the weather now brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. This evening and tonight will be cloudy with some hill fog and perhaps some patchy light drizzle in places. The light west to northwest wind will fall light and variable with minimum temperatures around 10 degrees. Tomorrow will be another largely cloudy day, and although mostly dry, there is the continuing threat of a few spots of light drizzle. The light to moderate wind will settle to the south or southeast with highs of 13 degrees. Remaining dry and settled on Sunday and often cloudy, but with some bright or perhaps sunny spells breaking through at times. A light south to southeasterly breeze with a maximum temperature around 13 degrees. Sunrise tomorrow morning at 22 minutes past 7 and sunset tomorrow afternoon at 20 to 5.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Cannell's Agricultural Supplies have been serving the good folk of the north for over 30 years. Supplying homegrown wheats, whole and rolled oats, working clothing, fencing, animal feeds, parts, tools and emergency supplies. Call Julia on 880206 or find Cannell's on Facebook.
Patricia Wild Opticians is celebrating over 30 years of friendly, caring service in Farm Hill and Ramsey. Visit us for professional eye care with stress-free parking. Phone Patricia Wild Opticians on 813 977.
For over 25 years, Langness Maintenance Services have been the block paving specialists, including property maintenance, fencing and landscaping. Fast, reliable and competitive. For a free no-obligation quote, call Paddy on 49667. Langness Maintenance Services, 49667.
One architectural design company has particular expertise in achieving planning approval for a wide variety of projects, from landmark buildings to spectacular homes. Talk to the experts at Ellis Brown and get your project off the ground. For excellence in design, search Ellis Brown.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
The time now approaching 5:05. The 2% increase in the higher rate of income tax probably won't be removed in the next budget. In February, the Treasury Minister said the rise would be temporary while a new healthcare levy was created. The money from the increase has been ring-fenced for Manx care. Here's Treasury Minister Dr Alex Allinson.
In terms of the tax increase from 20% to 22%, I'd said in February that my ambition was to bring in a healthcare levy to replace that next year. That has become far more complicated than I thought, and I probably won't be able to remove that 2% increase, but we will be looking at the healthcare levy to replace it as soon as possible. One of the problems with health services is that we can't carry on throwing money at them. We can't give them a blank cheque. That isn't just me. That's what Lord Darcy reported in the UK when they recently looked at exactly the same situation they're in. You need effective management that will challenge some of the assumptions, challenge some of the spending. Now, in terms of Manx Care's forecasted overspend of 17 million, that was made quite clear in their July accounts. Treasury have been there to support the Department of Health and Social Care to actually examine that overspend, interrogate that overspend, see what can be done within the year to bring that back into a balanced budget. But it is difficult, and that's why there's been various arguments that have led really to the resignation of Laurie Hooper, which I very much regret. But he took a policy that actually what was happening wasn't overspending, and I disagree with him. I think there are savings that can be made. There are reforms that can be made to our health service to deliver those frontline services. And again, I've made quite clear that I don't think our NHS is broken. I think when you look at some of the biggest increases in spending in Manx Care, it has been about patient safety and actually the services provided to people. And now patient safety people don't notice, but it's really, really important after the CQC reports that came out. So yes, we are interrogating the Manx Care spend. We are supporting the Department of Health and Social Care in terms of doing that. And we are really concentrating, one, to see what we can do for this financial year, but also those fundamental changes that need to be made in terms of the governance of spending in Manx Care and our health and social care service to bring it in on budget for next year and the years after.
Treasury Minister Dr Alex Allinson. The Isle of Man is safer than the UK, but there are concerns over the impact of alcohol and drugs on public safety. Those are some of the findings of a consultation into policing on the island. Christian Jones reports.
More than 300 people responded to the questionnaire over a 4-week period early this year, sharing their thoughts on a range of issues. Over 80% of respondents said they felt safe or very safe on the island, particularly when comparing the island to the UK, while some said they were encouraged by the increase in visible police patrols. However, some highlighted nighttime concerns, such as feeling uneasy walking in Douglas at night and the impact of drunken behaviour leading to violence or disturbances. Those taking part in the consultation were also asked how safe or not they felt using different types of transport on the island. Public transport ranked the safest, with 75% saying they felt safe or very safe, compared to just 24% of cyclists and 29% of those who rode motorbikes. The need for policing based in neighbourhoods was seen as the top priority in local communities, while tackling international money laundering was seen as the least important. The Department of Home Affairs says the feedback has been factored into its department plan, which was presented to Tynwald last month.
Christian Jones, thank you. While staying on the subject of crime, the Chief Executive of Victim Support Isle of Man says they often have to keep up to date with the new crime trends to be able to offer the right support to victims. For instance, Lorna Trevethan told Manx Radio she's working with partner agencies to learn more about exploitation and trafficking.
This is something quite new that we've not really seen or certainly been aware of on the island. I can't say it's never happened, but it's something. So I am actually looking into working with other agencies to develop our understanding further, because it's not something that we've actually experienced as far as I'm aware. But it wouldn't surprise me if we do start, in light of what we've seen in the last 6 months, that we will actually see that. So I'm, having some conversations behind the scenes to ensure that we are in a position to support. So it's not an area of our expertise at the moment, and it's a shame that we're having to even look at it on the island, but we have to develop and grow as trends arise, unfortunately.
So you haven't had any experiences or clients with it around this, but you are looking into it just in case for future.
I've had some contact with other agencies, and we are looking to ensure that if that support is required, that we're in a position to support.
How difficult is it, or how frustrating is it that you always get these new trends every few months or few years, and you think, how did they even think about this, and how do I then go forward and deal and help another person?
I think obviously the underlying work that we do, it's all very responses to things that can transfer over to various trends, and it's just understanding the changes, like we've had big changes in domestic abuse legislation and the Sexual Offences and Obscene Publications Act in the last couple of years or so. So we've had to increase our knowledge, but our foundational work is still the same. So it's that support, it's that emotional support, that practical support, that signposting, that information sharing is a key part of what we do, and I think that just means we adapt those core skills to the knowledge that we then develop through the ever-changing trends.
Lorna Trevethan, the Chief Executive of Victim Support Isle of Man, speaking to Chanel there.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
And the time now, 11 minutes past 5. A group representing the island's travel industry has praised recent announcements by the Steam Packet Company regarding its fares and schedules. The Isle of Man Travel Trade Association says the move to allow children under 16 to travel free and release the schedule up to 18 months in advance is game-changing. Brian Kelly, chairman of the association, told me what that means for the travel industry and what they would like to be considered next.
I think this is the big game changer, and we have been lobbying for a long, long time in trying to get the Steam Packet to open their calendars so that we can make reservations much further in advance. So, for example, just a few days ago, as a travel company, we can only make reservations with the Steam Packet to the end of December 24, so just literally a couple of months. But that was a real issue for people obviously travelling off the island, but more importantly, people travelling into the island. So now we can actually book people outbound and inbound to mid-May 2026. So from an inbound tourism point of view, that is a real game changer. And if we're looking to increase numbers coming into the island, this is a massive change.
And there are still many who will say, fair enough, under 16's free, that's a nice step, but there could be other areas, fares themselves could be reduced. What does IOMTTA think the Steam Packet could do next? Could it go slightly further?
I think there are many things that they could do, and we're certainly talking to them, and I'm sure government are talking to them as well. We have a fantastic ship travelling to Heysham daily with 800 spaces, and in the winter it's fairly quiet, so there's a huge opportunity there for maybe resident fares for outbound through the winter, and then obviously then discounted inbound fares for winter tourism into the Isle of Man. So we're only restricted by our lack of imagination, and I think the Steam Packet obviously, I believe, are looking at new fare structures, and we'll certainly be working with them and certainly encouraging them to look at both sides to allow cheaper fares off the Isle of Man for our own residents, but then obviously looking at that visitor spend and bringing people into the Isle of Man.
Brian Kelly, chairman of the Isle of Man Travel Trade Association there. In business news on the island today, a 7-week extension has been granted by the Department of Infrastructure to finalise outstanding matters relating to a licence variation request from the company behind plans to extract gas from Manx waters. Kroger Limited is working with the department to cover what are described as a small number of remaining issues in relation to varying the company's seawood production innovative licence. It currently requires Kroger to undertake a work programme as part of Phase B, which includes a 3D seismic survey prior to moving to the exploratory drilling in Phase C. The variation request would allow drilling on the basis of a 2D survey. Elsewhere, the company behind the three-wheeling sidecar brand, Manx Productions, has rebranded as Motor Isle Limited. The transition coincides with the launch of the company's new online shop selling all manner of motorsport merchandise. Motor Isle says the merchandise celebrates the island's road racing heritage supplied by local Derby-based print business Happy Dog. The launch of the online shop is said to be the first step towards a future physical shop and cafe on Wellington Street in Douglas. That's by M&S. The latest stock market report from Ramsey Crookall now. UK and European stocks closed higher. Wall Street stocks were sharply higher as traders digested last month's all-important jobs report. Gold prices rose, rebounding from profit-taking during the previous session as the US dollar weakened after data showed that US job growth slowed sharply in October. Oil prices extended gains, climbing more than $1 a barrel to pair weekly losses as geopolitical tensions in the Middle East rose following reports that Iran was preparing a retaliatory strike on Israel from Iraq in the coming days. The markets at the close, the FTSE 100 up 0.86% to 8,179. The DAX up 1.02% to 19,271. A short time ago, the Dow Jones up 1.10% to 42,221. The S&P 500 up a percentage point to 5,762. And the Nasdaq up 1.22% to 18,316. British pound sterling trading at 1.295 US dollars and 1.193 euros. Gold up 0.03% to 2,744 US dollars, and a barrel of Brent down 0.77% to $73.40.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m. is it?
2:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
Oh.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, starting on the roads in Douglas, Summerhill is closed between the Promenade and Strathallan Road for gas main replacement. Temporary lights on Alexander Drive near the Woodburn as well for pipe disconnection there. And Victoria Road is still one way between Stanley Place and Broadway in a southerly direction towards Broadway for electrical installation works. Temporary lights as well on Governor's Road near Governor's Bridge and Blackberry Lane, 24 hours a day to replace the street lighting. In Foxdale, a section of the Foxdale Road is closed between the Tossaby Road and the Archeligan Road for resurfacing. And in Peel, temporary lights on Douglas Road near QE2 School for water main replacement. No problems to report over at the airport this evening. The next flight out will be the 6:20 Loganair flight to Liverpool. And over on the sailings, Manxman sailing back from Heysham as we speak, due into Douglas at 6:11. And Manannan will be arriving in Liverpool in the next 15 minutes.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with
Quayside.
5:18, targeting a fourth straight win and aiming to keep their place in the NWCFL Premier Division top 5, FC Isle of Man return home to face newly promoted Abbey Hey on Saturday evening. Paul Jones's side narrowly beat their opponents 2-1 in the reverse fixture in Manchester in September. The Ravens boss explained some of the key threats their opponents might pose this weekend.
Very good set plays, especially second half. They threw caution to the wind really in the second half, and they were they put a lot of pressure on us. We tried to play out a little bit and got caught a few times. So no, I think they lost on Tuesday night, but both their goals came from corners or set plays. So that's a big part of their game. They're very quick on the transition and try and get bodies forward really quickly, and that was something that we just about coped with on the night in the away game. But they also play in a way that we feel that we can take advantage of. So it's one that we know they're scoring a number of goals, but they also give teams opportunities to score as well. So that's what we have to capitalise on.
And on yourselves going into this weekend, targeting a fourth straight win. Looking at those last two results against Longridge Town and Chadderton last weekend, that late comeback as well. How much confidence has that given the group going into this one?
Lots of confidence. I think we're in this place now. I think I can say confidently that no matter what happens in the game, they know they've got enough to get back into it or to win it. So Longridge, we go ahead and are fairly comfortable, I think, first half, and then have a little bit of a wobble, but have enough to see it through. And then Chatterton obviously going behind early, but no one panicked, and we just stuck to what we were trying to do and got a little bit better through the game. And Boothie's finished his chances fantastically well. So I think we're in this place now where we know we can beat any team in the league, and we're also starting to do it. And whatever happens within a game situation, we're calmer and more confident in terms of our ability to either capitalise on the situation or to hold firm and see it through. So yeah, in a really good place, but it's an important 8-week block now to really kind of capitalise on the position that we find ourselves in.
FC Isle of Man versus Abbey Hey kicks off tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Manx Radio will be providing full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels. 5:20. The chair of Braddan Commissioners has confirmed the access road into the Roundhouse should be open by Christmas. Andrew Jessup says there's a bad taste in his mouth about the opening after the long-running dispute between the Department of Health and Social Care and the local authority.
I suppose on one level it gives us control over our own access. So from that point it does remove the possibilities of any disputes in the future. However, obviously it still leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth because we're still obviously maintaining that we had a right of access across the hospital estate roads from agreements made many, many, many years ago, plus also legally in respect of highways becoming dedicated as highways by the fact that the public have used them for such a long period of time. But be that as it may, we've had to go down a certain route because we couldn't really afford not to at that time. We're still hoping that we might be able to sit down with whoever becomes the new Minister for DHSC and have a conversation about the additional costs that the department's actions have created for Braddan ratepayers. We're looking at a cost of best part of £250,000 to build a short stretch of roadway, which seems absolutely ridiculous, but that's where we are. A lot of that cost will probably come out of the sale of our old offices. It shouldn't impact on the rates next year. Well, that's the hope. Obviously, we're still awaiting other decisions by government in terms of what impacts there may be on the rates for all local authorities next year. Well, the original plan was that it would be open around about the first week of December. There have already been a little bit of delay due to, again, this rather usual irritating fact that you start digging and you find things that you didn't know were there before you started digging. So that's already delayed progress by 2 or 3 days. Hopefully we won't find any more things that will hold us up.
Braddan Commissioner Andrew Jessup there. Now, the mum of a child with complex needs says she can't thank local painter John Skelton enough for the upgrade he's facilitated for her son's room. Stephanie Collard says the redecoration will help her son Lucas be more comfortable while he rests after spinal surgery. The 9-year-old was born with myotonic dystrophy, a genetic condition that causes progressive muscle weakness and wasting.
We can't thank him enough. I mean, the work that he's done and the amount that it's going to benefit Lucas. Because he spends a lot of time in his bedroom due to having spinal operations 6 weeks at a time. So having a bedroom that's tranquil and peaceful and just looks, nice, it's going to be benefit him. So myotonic dystrophy is a genetic condition. He was born with it at 33 weeks. Every muscle in his bone, including his internal organs, don't have any tone. So you can't sit up, you can't walk, you can't talk, you can't we have to do everything for him. And with that comes a lot of other issues, like he's tube fed. He's got rods in his spine, he's had 3 spinal operations, splints on his feet to help his feet stay in the right position.
Now, I know you said he does spend a lot of time, or he will be spending a lot of time in his room, especially because of a few operations that he has lined up.
Yeah, so he was born with scoliosis. It was over 90% curved, and it was affecting his organs. So he had an operation where he put magnetic rods in his spine when he was 3 years old. Since then, he's had 2 further spinal operations, which are also, he's also had to spend a lot of time in bed. And he's going to need these operations to lengthen the rods that are in his spine every so many months.
Do you mind me asking when his next operation is planned for?
It's probably within the next couple of months, so his room should be sorted by then.
Is there a stigma or anything when it comes to being a parent of a child that needs extra help?
There is definitely a stigma. I mean, there shouldn't be in this day and age. You see, if we're walking somewhere and there's children with their parents, children are quite innocent. I mean, if a child comes up and asks me something why isn't he walking, why is he doing that? like you hear parents like pulling away, so don't ask that. And I'm like, no, do ask, because children need to be educated as well as parents. And you see them like pulling them away, like don't go near the wheelchair. I was like, no, come here, he's no different. He still wants to make friends and everything, but it's more so adults that have more of a stigma against it. Not if we know for our own. Yeah, the stigma is there, but I think the more like you see things like this, the better it'll be as time goes on.
That's Stephanie Corlett speaking to Chanel there. Coming up to the end of the programme now, so let's join Manx Radio sports editor Rob Pritchard for a look at today's sporting news. Faster my, Rob.
Faster my, Lewis. Two Railway Cup hopefuls meet in a potentially poignant Canada Life Men's Premier League contest among the latest upcoming weekend fixtures in Manx football. Fourth place Corinthians travel to Foxdale, who sit fifth, with both teams on 18 points, but with the former of the two ahead on goal difference as the race for top four places heats up. In Division 2, Braddan and Douglas High School Old Boys occupy the top two spots in the standings going into this weekend, with both on 19 points, but Braddan ahead on goal difference. All of Saturday's matches will now begin at the earlier time of 2 p.m, with the exception of St Mary's versus St George's in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, which gets underway at the earlier time of 1:45. Elsewhere, in badminton, the Isle of Man's campaign got underway today at the 2024 Small States of Europe Badminton Team Championships in Cyprus. A tough opening day, though, in Nicosia for the Ireland team, as they suffered a 3-2 loss to Greenland in their opening Group C match before a 4-1 defeat to Malta. The tournament is running until Sunday. In rugby, a triple header at Ballafletcher between Vagabonds and Bury forms the majority of this weekend's matches. The women's teams of both clubs meet at 12:45 in women's NC2 North-South before the men's teams face off in Counties 3 ADM Lancs Cheshire at 2 p.m. There's also an under-15s friendly between the junior teams of both clubs. And in hockey, it's the return of cup competitions this weekend, with all teams knowing they're potentially just one step away from a final. The semi-finals of the Mixed Cup, Mixed Plate and Mixed Bowl take place from 11 a.m. on Saturday and through the afternoon at both the NSC in Douglas and at QE2 in Peel.
Rob Pritchard, Guramired. He'll be back in a few moments with Friday Sport Preview. But that's it for Update this evening. Greatest hits with Chris Kinley in an hour, and you can find more from all of tonight's stories at manxradio.com, where you'll also be able to listen back to this programme as a podcast shortly. Update will be back, though, at the same time on Monday. In the meantime, have a great weekend.